Hello good people, karibuni sana Sifa Movement again for yet another episode of Sifa Movement. I even forgot what you used to say. Sifa Movement is all about, it's a journey from pain to praise through Thanksgiving, and today we have quite an interesting topic about faith. Yes, faith. It looks like a very short word, but it's very deep. And there's a lot when it comes to faith, resilience, and all that. The Bible says that in Hebrews 11, verse 1, that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So today, as we discuss about faith, as we delve deep to understand what faith is, we are just freelancing and just having a conversation as we come up with a better title for the show. It could be verses and verses, Sifu na Sifa, or whatever you suggestion you give us. And we'll listen to a testimony from one beautiful lady over here called Venna. She'll introduce herself. She'll give us her testimonies, and we will learn more about what she's gone through and how faith has impacted her life. Karibuni sana, and I hope it changes your life. You that is going through something right now and you don't have faith, you don't trust in God, or your hope is lost, I hope this show blesses you in a very beautiful way. So karibuni sana, karibu sana Venna.
Thank you. Yes, tell me.
Karibu sana Venna to this show.
Yes, asante.
As we talk about faith, it might seem like a very short word without meaning, but like we've said, it's the substance of what is hoped for and the evidence of what is not seen. When you're trusting God for something, or when you're trusting God to do something for you, when you've been praying day in, day out, and all you have is faith and hoping that things will work out for you.
Yeah.
First of all, please introduce yourself.
I start with an introduction.
Let's get to know who Venna is before we delve into the topic.
Into the topic, yes. Okay, so my name is Venna Odhiambo. I am a creative. Yes.
We are creatives.
We are creatives, yes. I write. I like writing, especially for children and teenagers. At some point, I'll explore writing for adults, but I really like
children.
I really enjoy writing for children and for adults. I do a bit of storytelling for children. I work around photography and films, you know, basically creating content for children in many different kinds of, like using many different kinds of media. I'm also just like a lover of life. I like hiking. I like playing a lot. I like dancing.
That I can attest. She loves playing.
Yes, I am a big baby, but yeah, that's good. Yeah. And I am a Kenyan and a Nairobian. How far does this introduction go?
It can go as far and wide and deep.
Number M-Pesa.
Number M-Pesa, tutaandika hapo chini kwa nini.
Yes. Yeah, but yeah.
Did you start off as a creative? It's something that you do into loving?
Well, I mean, if I think about it, I have always been a creative. I think I was dancing as early as the age of 5, 6, you know. Zile ma poetry za church, I was there. Like
before uzaliwe, you were dancing.
I'm sure my mom had trouble when she was pregnant. That I can attest. Anyway, so I was always into creative things. Acting, I think I remember I didn't think I could act until I got a Best Actress award when I was, I think, 11 years old. And I was like, ooh, this is fun. And people can award me for doing this. And then I just kept doing it.
How did that make you feel?
Awesome. It was even by mistake, but that's a long story for another
day. Okay.
But it ignited a passion. Yeah, so I've always been creative like that. It's just that we grow up in a society where like the creative industry is not well established, that young people can imagine themselves as creatives when they're adults. Yeah, so yeah.
And even the rewards.
Right, you don't like see it, like mtu akuuliza how does it work, you don't have
Yeah, and it
proper
takes a
answer.
long time to get
Yeah. So now, and I didn't really, when time came for university, I didn't picture myself as a creative, so I went the kawaida way. Yeah, so I think until I turned 30, which will be very relevant to this conversation.
I know, that's why I had
That's
to
why
lead
you
you
asked.
there, and especially in the creative world.
Yes.
Because I know it's all about, it's
Yes.
going to tackle something about this topic.
It is only until around 29, 30 that I started thinking, see, I can just follow this thing.
Don't worry, that at 30 you were still a baby. Life started 40, so
You know?
you were very
So
young.
sahi tuko bado unborn. We are waiting for a few years.
We are babies. We are not even born.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
life started 40.
Yeah, so yeah, it's up until around 30 when I started creating the foundation for a creative career. And so now I have been a full-time creative for the last 3 years. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now today we are actually discussing about faith. And I remember you shared a story. Let me give a background. Let me give them a
snippet.
And Venna shared a story with me, and it really revealed to me and it spoke to me about faith. And the reason as to why I'm asking about her creative, her ventures into creative world, into the creative world, it has to do a lot with this today's topic. And I want you to share with us today a moment where, first of all, what is faith to you?
Faith to me is a promise that is silent, a promise from God that is silent, that only you hear, and you have to believe it. And it takes such courage to listen to it, to hear it, and to believe it, and give it time for it to come true. You see, the way I can tell you that, you know what, I'll treat you for your birthday. Your birthday, let's say, is...
Kwanza birthday yangu ni Sato.
Sato. So for example, I tell you, D, I'm going to treat you for your birthday, you know? Or you're like, Venna, you know, you should take me out for my birthday. And say, I will. You know, that's a promise, and it is loud, and you can say, Venna, you say, do you know? So I feel like...
And I have witnesses.
You know? So like the fact that you believe I will do it, that is kind of like faith. But I think we talk about it more as belief because you hear it, you know? I think faith is one of those things where you ask God, or even just like you want something, and you know, it's a promise from God, but it's a promise that sometimes, because the thing is so big, it's so scary to believe that is good. So that courage to believe is what I think is faith. Yeah.
And even as we talk about that, we are talking of it being silent and a promise. We will get there because sometimes the promise does not come to pass. And now that that is God who is speaking, then what do we do? But before then, would you kindly share with us a story or maybe a testimony or your story about faith? One time when you had to put your trust in God.
Yeah.
Or one time when it never made sense and God was telling you, have faith in me, put your trust in me. Yeah. Me alone as God. And you know, it's not just about putting our faith in God, but even putting our trust in men. The Bible says that cursed is the one who puts their trust in men. Because men can disappoint. Your character development, people go in a row. So
Kivumbi School, ama ni Kivumbi Institute.
Yo tumepitia sisi wote. So there is putting our trust in God, there is putting our trust in men, there is putting our trust in the things of the world. Yeah. So please share with us that moment in time
of faith.
I know we have so many, but there's that one specific that you feel like we can start with, so that we can encourage someone out there, someone who's lost hope, and someone who is listening to us and watching us today. Yes, please share that story.
I will share it. I hope that I am brief because I can be a storyteller. We can be here until tomorrow.
Even after next week. Yes. Here, just changing and eating.
Okay, so I will tell the story. I will try to summarize.
Yes.
Because I am a storyteller.
You are a talker.
Yes. We can be here for days. But anyway, so picture this.
Yeah.
We are all born in different families, you know.
Yeah.
So a bit of a difficult childhood. My mom had a few mental health issues here and there. So immediately get into survival mode, you know.
Yeah.
High school, you're surviving. I need to go to university, get a job and do what? Survival mode. We may get university. I need to pass. I need to do this. Survival mode. Bado. Tuka university, I need to find a job. You know, I can't be begging people for rent out here. Yes. Tulizaliwa watoto wa sita.
So kila mtu ako mbioni.
Yes.
Survival.
So everybody is in survival mode, you know.
Yeah.
Umetoka kampo, haya, tuingie first job, second job, hivi. So then things work out because, you know, umejituma na ukijituma a lot of times you get, you know. And so at this point I have always had like I think a fairly okay relationship with God before that. But I never really had faith because when we were kids, I grew up in church. All this dancing and these things I'm telling you, I did them in church. And I used to pray for life to get better at home, and it never did. So as a child, it got ingrained in my brain that prayer is just a formality, so to say, you know. So prayers of thanksgiving always came easier to me. But faith, like asking God, I need things, no.
Because initially things were not really working out.
I gave up on it, you know. So yeah, I'd pray here and there. There was a time I even stopped going to church and, you know, like questioned the whole religion thing. I think everyone goes through that bump of, you know, what is religion? Does it make sense, you know? What is Christianity? What is, you know? Yeah, so all of that through my early 20s, Nini. Yeah, so things work out. Kiasi, you know, you get a job, it's a good job, it's Nini. So at some point, I started thinking, and I was working at a job that was making me very happy personally because I was working with children. I had a lot of creative projects and things like that.
It's always something that you've loved and wanted.
I have always loved, but I was employed. I was in the line of project management. So as much as I used to like have my creative moments, my main job was in project management and coordination. So. And like, I was lucky to get into management positions as early as 26. By the time I was 26, I was in management.
You already had the leadership skills.
Yes. So like it was fun, you know, and, you know, growing in the way we imagine life is supposed to go, but like relationships with friends, not so. Like I was a very sheltered person. My walls were very, very high. So I get to somewhere around 29 and I start, you know, like entertaining my heart's desires, kidogo. You're like, okay. What if, you know, I can imagine myself producing suji what? I can imagine myself doing A, B, C, and D, you know? And so on my 30th birthday, I write a journal. And a lot of my journals are moments of reflection, as well as like prayer and you know, things like that. So as I'm writing this journal, I decide to talk about, I feel like all my life, all I have done is survive. Like I am always on the move. I feel like things are tight, you know? So I'm like, was I just born to survive? I was like, no, I want to live, I want to thrive, you know?
Not exist.
Not just exist, I want to thrive and live, you know? And I penned this down as a prayer. I'm like, God, you know what? I'm done with this. I remember exactly what I wrote. It was like, I felt like I was in a hamster wheel. You see how that hamster wheel, the hamster is really running, but it's running absolutely nowhere. It's just,
but it's round and round and round, and it's very fast.
That's the thing, because the faster you run, the faster the wheel goes, so you have to keep up, so it's just...
Wow, and that's with life.
Right? And I feel like that's why this conversation is very important, because right now I feel like many people are in that place where you don't even know what is happening anymore.
90% or 95.
You know.
Could be 99.
Yes.
Could be 99.
In my simple mind, I penned this down as a prayer. I'm like, you know, I want to like enjoy life. I want to be able to travel more. I want to be able to relax and enjoy friendships a little bit more. I want to have faith. I want to be able to pray and believe as I am praying that this thing will come true. Because the danger of not having faith is you go on a very dangerous spiral on the opposite direction. Because what example would I say right now? So for example, I want to be in a position where I'll buy a house, you know, and I pray, I'm like, you know, I want to be able to do this, or I don't know. Let's say, for example, I want to have faith that I'll have a child, or, you know, whatever it is you desire. And when you have faith, it becomes easy. You say, and you believe, and you manifest, and you work in that direction, and things kind of fall in place. But when you don't have faith, you're always like trying too hard and you don't make even know what things you're difficult. So I was like, you know, I just want to chill a little bit, you know, and not be so tensed about life, because I also felt like I was a bit uptight. To be fair, I still am a bit uptight. That hasn't changed like that. Okay, so I penned this down as a prayer, and you know those things where they say be careful what you pray for? It might just be answered. Well, yeah, it was answered.
And it's the ones that we least expect.
So that's the thing. The thing is, a lot of times for you to heal, you kind of break down, you know. So when I was asking for this, the reason I was so uptight with friends is because I wasn't taught to trust as a young person, you know. And learning to trust is difficult,
not easy,
you know. You will learn to trust, you'll trust the wrong people, they will break your heart, you will, you know. So that's the thing. That prayer led me into a season of life that was challenging in some way, and it had two faces. There was the challenging one, but raisi kidogo, you know. So during that time, let me start with reading a journal I wrote after. Yes, after.
And before you even read that, when you were writing this prayer, did you have faith that whatever you're writing or whatever you're asking God for in that prayer did you have faith that it will come to pass, or you were trying God?
It was a passive faith. It was a passive faith, not an active faith. I think, so that's the thing. I did not know how to have faith. For me, it was more like, you just say you want, and then if it happens, it happens. You know. But you know, that thing we were told as kids, faith without action is dead.
It's dead.
You know. So that's the thing, like having that faith and, you know, you're just like, whatever. If it happens, it happens. You know. I feel like I have grown to a place where my faith is a bit more active than it was. Like it's a bit, it's not as passive as nikipata ni sawa, nikikosa ni sawa. It's not really like that.
I feel like it happens after you face several challenges along the way.
It does.
So you build your faith.
Yeah, so for me it was like that freedom to, like, interacting with people in a certain way, like being free, enjoying cultures, breaking down and being vulnerable and open with my friends, because at that point I wasn't vulnerable. No one even knew that I had a difficult childhood. When I think it was my sister who shared a little bit about our childhood on Facebook, then my friends started calling me and being like, is this true? Why is she talking about your mother like that? And I'm like, well, she's not lying. That was our childhood. I just never shared with you, you know. And like slowly by slowly, my friends, like I felt like I had more acquaintances than I had friends. No one really knew me like
and
that.
Colleagues.
Yes, exactly. I had colleagues that I used to hang out with, full stop. But if you were to ask like somebody who knew me like that,
someone
like,
you can be vulnerable to,
right?
Best friend,
and someone to share your burdens with, because you know that's really what friendship is. You know, like somebody to share your disappointments with, somebody to share your joys with, and things like that.
A confidant.
That's the thing. I knew how to share joy with people. I didn't know how to share pain.
Yet inside you were breaking and breaking and breaking into
Exactly. So I was a very broken person,
Yeah.
but with a very good exterior that you don't know that the inside is in shambles, you know?
get you.
So the thing is, that prayer led me to a journey of, first of all, discovering just how broken I was. Discovering that broken trust that was inside of me, those things that happened that just shook my faith in humanity, those moments of praying and God, quote unquote, did not answer, and how that broke my heart as a little girl to the point I was like, I just won't pray anymore. I will never ask because it is pointless to ask, you know? So then that's the thing, that prayer led me to that journey of, you go find out where those things broke, you know? Find out what are those things that broke your heart and start to heal them one by one, you know?
Introspection.
You know, and so for me, I was lucky enough that therapy was an option. So I found an amazing therapist. And yeah, we were able to, like, she walked me through, and she's also like Christian. So it helped that, like, she wasn't those therapists of pray about it.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is so sad, pray about it. I
Down.
was very clear that that is not what I was looking for in a therapist. Yeah, you know, but she happened to be Christian. So she was in a position where I could talk about my lack of faith, wanting to build a relationship with God, and then took it to having a good relationship with myself. Because, for instance, I had never noticed before that point that I was very good at criticizing myself. I was very good at counting all my mistakes. I was very good at seeing every single way that I was failing. I never congratulated myself. I never saw how hard I worked in order to get out of, like, I grew up in Kibera. And by even that time of that was not my reality anymore. I was doing much better than that. I never acknowledged that at any given point, you know. Sometimes, like, people talk to you and they're like, oh, you helped me out here, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did that, you did that. I don't think I even acknowledged when God used me as a blessing in other people's life. So I only focused on the things that I was failing. I had a terrible relationship with myself, if we're just being honest, you know.
And wait, by this time when you're going to the therapist, have you already gone through this phase and the story of faith, or was it before?
So that's the time where God has started answering my prayer.
The one that you jotted down on the journal.
So I write
and
this.
I hope you can read that to us, at least a snippet
A snippet,
something.
I will. So that's the thing. So I write this journal, and then I forget. Like me, I just keep going with my life. Like, you know, maybe, I don't know, God will bring a job that will take me traveling. And that time you were
writing about being a creative and just...
Yes.
God giving you a good job and all that?
Yes, I did. But then the thing is, I wrote and I put my journal aside, you know. Yeah. By that, I still used to journal, not as often as I do, and like after that. So it was just like one of those. It has always been a tradition, actually, for me. During my birthday and maybe New Year's and stuff, I sit down and I reflect and I journal in that. So it was more like a birthday tradition that I was doing, you know. Yeah. But this time that it was a prayer and it was honest. It was coming from the depths of my heart that I don't want to survive anymore. Yeah. I want to live. I want to be in such a place where if I died a year from then, I would be like, you know, that was fun.
She lived.
You know.
She lived a good life.
Exactly. Because before that moment, I feel like if I had died, I would have been like, well, I guess I survived that. You know.
She was born, like, went to school.
In Asia, at least, Husa. That would have been the reaction, you know. And I wanted to live a life where if I died, I would be like, you know what, I lived. You know, that was fun. I lived.
Something written about.
You know. Yeah. So that's what I wanted. And the
what legacy were you leaving behind?
Exactly. And the good thing is I can say right now that even if I died tomorrow, it wouldn't be ideal because there's still so many things I want to do. But I would be in a position to be like, woohoo, that was nice. That was nice. You know, like I did, like I will be proud of the life that I have lived.
We can all get to that point in life.
You know.
Yeah. I really want to hear this story.
Yes. So actually, that has summarized like the faith, what it was before, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, in summary, broke down a whole lot of things, you know. I realized I had a terrible relationship with money, you know. First of all, I realized that the reason I couldn't have good relationships with friends is I didn't have a good relationship with myself, you know. Even the Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
So you have to love yourself first.
Exactly. If you don't know how to love yourself, your neighbor, you cannot love them well, you know.
Unfortunately.
So that's the thing. I did not know how to be vulnerable in general. So when friends were vulnerable with me, I wasn't useful, you know. You're like, I knew how to help, like if you have a bill, that I can solve. But if, for example, you're confused or going through depression, I don't know what to do with it because I'm going through depression, but I haven't told anybody. So can you just act the way I'm acting to be okay? Like, ha, 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 let's all smile, you know?
And a very plastic smile for that matter.
Right? Yeah, so broke down, and then so finally I got to a place where now the faith was tested. The time came to quit my job and be this creative that I had been dreaming about.
And trust God fully in this journey.
Yes.
Hey.
The thing about it is, you know, people break your heart, you see a therapist, you have drinks with a few friends here and there, you move on.
Yeah.
Now, leaving a job, a source of financial security, that was tough. That was really, really tough. And jumping, not that you're jumping from one job to another. You're jumping believing that I'll figure it out.
Faith.
You know, and the way it happened for me, it wasn't even something slow. Because like slow to a level, like I had started preparing for it mentally over a while, maybe like 6-7 months. I was like, but I was preparing for maybe 3 years ahead. But then 6 months down the line, I couldn't stay in that job anymore because now somebody who was a bit above me, somebody who was, I was project manager, but I was reporting to a board, and somebody who was the middleman between me and the board was toxic, very, very toxic.
Oh, toxic work environment,
you know. So to a place where everything I had found out by then, I couldn't stay with a clean conscience, you know, because when you're in a place where somebody is taking advantage of people in need, it puts you in a place where you don't know what to do. So it was, for me, it was like my soul was like, you cannot stay here. And then I'm like, well, but if I quit, am I looking for another job and then going through this whole emotional situation of quitting?
You are just going to work like a technical appearance.
That's the thing.
Your spirit is not there.
Yeah, at that time, if I had found a job, I would have still quit after some time. So I was like, you know what? Let me try this creative world, and like I wanted to work with children, I wanted to create for children, I wanted to work with many children, I wanted to work with schools, I wanted to work with anywhere where children are, collaborate with the teachers and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know, let me try this as I am imagining it in my head. And I think, I don't know who it was, maybe it was Denzel Washington or somebody who was saying that thing really helped me out. It was like, see, when you dream of something and you see it in your mind very vividly, it is because it was put there. You know, it was planted in you for a reason. So stop ignoring it. Because if it wasn't put in your heart, why is nobody else seeing
Dreaming
it the way
about
you're
it.
seeing it, you know? So at that point, I had such a clear vision. Some of the things I am doing right now are things I wrote about back then. This book that I just published for children, it was written back then. So I had vividly imagined exactly what I was going to do, but I just hadn't gotten there yet, you know? So in this moment of taking that jump, of leaving this work environment, that is where my faith wasn't just, it had to be active now. It couldn't be passive anymore of, maybe at some point, I will get to work. At that point, it was, I am going to quit and I am going to trust that God will bring every opportunity my way in order to make it work. You know?
Yes.
And at this point, I have healed-ish, but I haven't healed. I'm just
Completely.
like, well, are you talking about the same?
It's a journey.
The same God who you prayed to heal your mother.
And it took
that
forever.
She died before healing, so that prayer was just completely...
Remember the question I asked you about?
I have an answer for it. We'll come there.
Yeah.
We'll come there. So, yeah, so at that point, I had a panic attack for the first time in my life. Because, like, everything in you is telling you jump, but the little girl in you is like, no,
not yet.
Don't do it. Really?
And it's very loud.
You've worked so hard, and now what? You want to go back to having nothing?
And you have this
Who's
position.
going to pay your rent? Who's going to pay your rent? You're a project manager.
How will you survive for the next 6 months?
Yes.
Or even 1 month? What will you eat?
Your friends know you as a project manager, and now when people tell you to introduce yourself, you'll say you are Venna, you are
a storyteller.
Fill in the blank. This creative, you want to say you are a writer. What have you written? You know. You
didn't even have any publication then.
I know. So I'm just like, I was losing all my sense of identity. You know, all my sense of identity. And you know, as human beings, like there's a way you want people to see you, you know. And so I was losing all of these things. But I wanted faith, you know. So what do I do? I turn back to God to say, hallelujah, give me faith. And this is where I think everybody has different ways of hearing from God or their relationship with God. For me, it came through music. Because as I had told you, I can tell you exactly what songs I used to listen to at what points that used to be like...
And the songs would minister to you.
You know, like that song. Spirit lead me where my trust. I cannot sing to save my life. I hope she'll be able to sing it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song.
Yes. So Spirit lead me. Spirit lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would have called me. Take me deeper than my feet will ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. I hope she'll record it and put it there. Anyway, literally those words. I had imagined this thing. I had imagined what I could do with it in faith and stuff. And I was like, I want to go to that place, you know? And it was so far. You don't have capital for this business. You don't have connections.
You have nothing. You have God. But
you want it. And somewhere in your heart, you believe that it is accessible to you. You have no proof that why it is accessible to you, but you feel it, you know? And so every time I would hear that song, I'll be like, yeah, this is farther than my feet would ever wander. Not on my own, you know? You know, but I will believe that my faith will be stronger.
Made stronger.
And I just kept through the ups and downs. Like that story is such a long story of ups and downs. And every single time where I would, I want to go and pitch to this school, and then I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, and you feel so afraid. And I would put those songs and they would remind me, it's fine, you're going to a place where you dream of, and yes, it's not where you would go on your own, but it's a place that God is taking you. So what's the worst that could happen, you know? You know? So that song literally carried me through those moments of, you know? And then this other song, let it be, let it be, let it be, Lord, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. On the toughest moments, I would be like, why did I ever think this was possible? And I would hear that song and I would be like, you don't know the answer to that question right now. Why is this happening? You don't know the answer to that question. But let it be. There will be an answer. It will make sense, you know? And when it does, you will know that it makes sense. So those songs taught me faith. And I mean, of course, I still had my therapist around, and she would like help me like go back to those parts of my childhood where I'd be like, I am scared because of this. I need to forgive this thing that happened. I need to no longer carry this thing on my burden because this thing happened to me. It was not my fault that this thing happened and whatever. So there was that healing that was going on as well. And that's what I mean by faith is active. In form of, yes, there was this moments of like passive faith here, like of the songs and stuff like that. But I was still doing the work to be like, so why is it exactly, what exactly is it I'm afraid of? You know, because I was scared, you know. And then like she would ask me questions like, okay, you're very afraid of like being broke to the point you'd have to go back to live in a slum. Okay, so what would happen then? Would you die? And you're like, oh, technically no.
No, but I wouldn't really want to go back there. That is not what I was envisioning.
You know, but the thing is, fear holds you captive.
Yes.
You know,
True.
Once you realize that that's not the worst thing that can happen in life, it stops holding you captive. And in a weird way, you end up not going there. You know, like the thing, so for me, for example, it will be like, will I be worthy anymore? You know, and then you're like, well, the truth is you're worthy. Just by being alive, the fact that you were created by God, you're worthy. You don't have to have money for you to be worthy. You can be in debt and you'll still be worthy of God's like graces and favors, you know. So you uko negative 500,000, you're still worthy.
A lot of negatives.
You know. So that's the thing. So for me, it was like reassuring myself and starting to have that good relationship. So that was me like building myself up with guidance, you know, and so that kind of fed into the faith. But these songs, I've mentioned two, but there are a few more, you know. But they carried me through like kind of just believing, putting one foot in front of the other, and something my therapist used to tell me is all you need to do is show up the best way you can.
High five for that.
I know, because today morning you were like, just show up. Yes.
Hey, whatever happened today in the morning, I hope I'll remember this show.
Yes.
Because I wasn't supposed to come for this show, and God just told me, show up. And I think me being on this show is an act of faith, which I will share maybe later. But thank you for reminding me about showing up.
Yes. So she taught me that thing, just show up and show up in the best way that you can, and have faith that the result will come. You know, in form of, hata ukianza kujenga nyumba, ukishajenga foundation, you cannot build the whole house in a day. You know, you put this stone and you have faith. I know.
A day at a time.
Exactly.
And it's not easy.
Not at all. It's easier said than done. You know, you put this stone and that stone, having faith that it will be strong enough to hold that, and eventually strong enough to hold the roof, and the thing will come together, you know. So I think that's the thing of pray, see what's holding you back, and solve that thing that is holding you back. And then in the process, just show up, one foot in front of the other, showing up the best that you could, and the result will come, you know. And for me, pole pole, I started embracing that faith. So it started being continuous. I started to realize, oh, I can ask for more from God. And I started to realize the comfort that faith gives you. Because living without faith, the way I had always lived before that, your antennas are up. You're like, I want this, so what is here? Like you're like
anxious.
This. You're very anxious, you're alert, you're not, you know. The thing about living in faith is, like right now, there's so many things I've prayed for, but there's a weird comfort in knowing that they will be answered. At some point, they will be answered, you know. To be fair, I still listen to those songs mpaka leo. You know, so there are some times when you're like, I wish I could understand.
They were imprinted in you.
They were imprinted.
Because it's something that you went through.
Yes, and let me tell you, people who have good voices out here, let me tell you, a good voice to sing, never misuse it ati unatukana watu na nini na
Just
nini.
sing.
Let me tell you, the power you have to guide souls is an amazing one.
Mumesikia nini?
Ukweli, as an artist, As an artist, you have an
Use that voice
amazing power. There is a reason some of the richest people in the world are musicians. I'll start by reading a journal that I wrote when I was in the thick of it, and then read another journal that I wrote a year right after this journal. So I've told you about the time when it was time to quit, I had a full-on panic attack. Like, these things are real, baby. Nasikianga watu hapa nje wakisema panic attacks are not real. They are very real. You know?
Yeah.
But I wrote this.
It reminds me of everything about Sifa Movement.
Yeah.
It's a journey from pain to praise.
It
So now
really
you're reading
is.
a journal when you were going
In
through
pain.
and then you'll read
A journal
about praise.
when I had a moment to praise.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wrote, let it be. This is what I am thinking and feeling right now. Man, these 2 last weeks have been a trip. I have no idea where to start, but I'm happy that I'm finally writing this down and deciding to pull myself out of this hole. I think 2 days after my last journal, I had a panic attack. I had been struggling to sleep quite a lot that week, and I had a lot on my mind. I think 2 sides of me were fighting, and my heart was trying desperately to survive. On one hand, I knew deep inside that the working conditions at Organization A and the treatment I was getting from person X, who was my supervisor, were both unfair and unbearable. Another part of me was very hyper-focused on this dream that I wanted to desperately disregard the conditions and make it work. Yeah, so I really wanted to make the work situation work, because I'm like, if I work here for the next 1 year, I get enough salary to invest in this, So I want, because I'm like, I have to get this dream, and yet the work situation is not working at all. So there are a couple of things that bothered me, and it's why I think there are a couple of situations at work that bothered me so much that this could not work anymore. First, I also believe that my ideas and projects are great, but performing at a low level, lower than they could. This is partly because of poor planning on my side and a lack of team and personnel, and that journal keeps going. But at that point, I was trying to reassure myself, I want this, but it's not happening yet, A year after that, I think a few days,
after the ups and downs and going through now the process of faith.
Yes.
And all that.
Now, this was actually on my birthday, so it starts happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
Yes. I am now 31, and I have so many feelings, mostly of joy, happiness, gratefulness for all the mercies and graces I have received through this year. And I want to acknowledge that there are a few things I desire, like I want to have a small family on my own, and the fact that my age is increasing gets me a bit nervous.
There is that.
Yes. But I know deep in my heart that I am exactly where I need to be, in fact, where I want to be. And I acknowledge the fact that I am surrounded by love and support, and for that I am beyond grateful. I am in touch with myself. I have a good relationship with myself, a relationship characterized with love, acceptance, commitment, and for that I am very grateful. I feel the presence of God in my life, and that there are many moments where I feel God carrying me through those moments that I cannot weather alone. And for that, I am also beyond grateful. With this, I write down a prayer, both of thanksgiving and petition.
Through thanksgiving.
Yes.
From pain to praise through thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yay.
So around Christmas time, a few months before that, I was feeling very overwhelmed and stressed. And I had the words, be still and know that I am God, again, through music. I was very, very stressed, couldn't think, couldn't breathe, just whoof.
There were songs that were speaking to you at
yes, this, when the oceans rise and thunders roar, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are King over the flood. I will be still and know you are God. I will be still and know you are God. So that song was in my moment of stress, it was like, I was like, but why is this? It was, I listened to that song over and over and over and over, and it made me feel like God was telling me, chill.
And be still and know that
Be
I
still.
am God.
I am who I am.
Yes.
You know, that's the great I am.
Yes.
Me, I am who I am. Wait, sit down, breathe in, breathe out, chill out. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I that's what I mean when I say I had the word be still and know that I am God. I am grateful for these words. I am grateful because right now I know you have proven that those words are true.
Yeah.
To be fair, they were true even before you proved it, but I am happy and grateful that I can say I have witnessed it, and I have never had this level of faith before. I know that I have moments of fear, but I have faith that you are with me, guiding me, leading me, holding my hand, and I know that your plans for me are great. Thank you not only for the plans, but for allowing me to know and to feel it. I'm happy for you, who you created me to be. I have many moments in the recent past where things that I thought were wrong, people I felt I should have let go of, or people I resent, I have come to appreciate, and the perspective is refreshing. Thank you for that. I am so grateful for the inner peace that I feel with who I am, what I believe, why I am, and that I feel that I came from you. It took me so long to feel like a child of God, like feeling
that out.
You know?
Yeah.
I have so much to be grateful for, and I pray that you continue to bless me with knowledge, wisdom, peace, happiness, love, beauty, compassion, vision, and faith, among other things. It's amazing to get to a place where I understand that the value of these things that I appreciate are over and above material things. Thank you not only for the life, but for the quality of life that you have blessed me with. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would also like to make a petition, ask for what I want, because if there's anything you've shown me over the last...
Now you actually have the strength to ask,
right?
Because you know He will provide.
Confidently. You know, because if there's anything you've shown me over the last few years, is that you do answer prayers, and you give me what I ask.
The same Venna who didn't have faith before.
Same human.
Wow.
Not in the way I expect at all, but in a way that is more wholesome than I could ever envision. When I prayed for a path to work with young people and do all these things that I imagined, I did not think to pray for the wisdom, knowledge, love, patience, and every other thing that came with those opportunities. So I will ask for what I want as I see it, but I know and trust that you will bless me with the rest that you know I need.
He already knows before we even ask.
That's the thing, because me, I was just like, I want to make fun things for kids, you know? But then in those moments of working with those children, I learned how to be patient myself.
Yes.
I healed my own childhood because of
Kids
relating with children, you know? So that's the thing, like you pray for one thing, but what you're given is 10. And it took me a long time to get there, you know, to get to a place where I see it. To be fair, it happens. Whether you see it or not, it like the fact that you're alive and you have all these things around you is proof enough that it happens. It's just, it takes a minute to notice, you know.
And once He actually provides for whatever you are praying for, He actually gives you even more. He's able to do exceedingly abundantly than that which you ask for.
Yeah, that's exactly, that is it, you know. So first, I want to be able to work with even more people and reach even more people and share the beauty of knowledge and hope and vision that you have given me. And I would like to light paths for more young people who need that light.
Before you even go on, I love now the capacity that you have built, the strength already.
And the energy is different.
The energy. This letter and this, what you're reading now, is very different from what you had written before.
Right?
There's so much difference. The capacity that you've built, I love it. Go on.
For now, I will go directly into business, work with community youth art centers and schools, but I know that you will keep showing me the path. Before I continue, I don't know if I have ever acknowledged this, but when I started working with children, you trusted me with your children. From the children I have worked with to some friends and some relatives, you have used me to be of help to them and guide some of them. Thank you for that, and thank you for the trust that you are placing
with me on this new journey. I promise to be faithful no matter how tough it gets. Secondly, I want to connect with people and have a fuller life and family. I want to be closer with friends. I want to have a better relationship with my family, my brother, my sisters, my cousins, and such. I want to meet someone and start a family of my own. I know for sure that I wasn't ready before, but I feel like I am ready to at least try. Third, I want to enjoy life a bit more. I want to travel to places in the world that I have admired before. I want to experience these places, see what they have to offer, enjoy their beauty, you know, get a nice car, house, etc., you know. I also want a voice, and a voice that matters. I want to be able to make a difference through my art, activism, and leadership in general. I want to grow my leadership from skills and experience to impact and influence. I want to keep having a good relationship with myself, to keep myself pure in joy, peace, wisdom, acceptance, commitment, and such, whose value are not material, but they are so much more valuable nonetheless. I want to become a great artist, a great writer, a great producer, just a great creator. And lastly, but most importantly, I want my relationship with you, God, to grow even more than now.
Awesome.
I want even more faith, more grace, more gratitude, more service, more of everything that is God. I don't know the specifics, but I'll leave this prayer here in gratitude and faith. Amen.
Happy birthday, Venna.
Happy birthday, Venna. Yes.
It was during your birthday.
It was a day after my birthday. So you see, like that shift for me.
I can keep on saying wow, nikae tu kama ambulance, because there's just so much I'm picking from. There's so much I'm picking from your story, but go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, and that is for me the beauty of writing journals.
Yeah.
Because as a human being, life is so busy, you tend to forget. But you know, when I read this, you read the moments when I was writing those journals with tears, mpaka machozi imeanguka,
and with pain, inafuta.
Imevuta ink, you're struggling to read, you know, so you remember that pain.
Moments.
I know. Remember the pain you were feeling when you were writing it. And then now you go to this other day where you are feeling so full and grateful and you wrote it. You
gratitude.
Know? Right. And then it kind of gives you the strength. You're like, oh, okay, so I've been here before. I have asked for things and they were given. I can do it. I can do that again, you know. And so much so that this was written, I think 2 years ago, you know. And now even these things that I was praying for in this letter,
you are living them now.
I am living them now.
You are living testimony.
Exactly.
That I can attest to. By the way, she has written very beautiful books, children books.
I have been a creator. I have been a creator. You know, now I'm not just saying rumors at you, I want to be a writer. I am actually a writer.
You actually have an identity. You can say, I am Venna. I am
I'm a writer.
I am a writer,
myself.
I'm an author. You have an identity. The things that you prayed for then,
have come to pass.
You're living that life
exactly.
now.
And there is a certain joy in that, you know. And I feel like this conversation about faith, it is very important to have right now, because right now the world is so noisy. There are so many bad things that are happening in the world. And I feel like it is important for us to remind ourselves of faith, you know, because what is happening right now is already almost beyond our control, because it was set up, you know. But thinking of a better tomorrow, whether it is for you as an individual or for your family or for your country or for the world or for your church or whatever it is you care for, you know, you have to have that ability to imagine that it can get better than what is going on right now, you know, and that ability to believe in that promise, although it has not been fulfilled, that is faith, you know. And I think that it's important, because I can say that it's possible, because having faith in those moments where you're not seeing it, you can hear it, you can hear the promise, but you're like, but for real, is it going to happen the way I think it's going to happen, you know? Because those moments are very, very tough. But and then I think that faith is also something that grows. I think that one of my biggest mistakes or rather lack of knowledge back then, is that you think that faith is something you either have or you don't. I feel like faith is something that grows. There are moments you have little faith. There are moments you have okay faith. There are moments you have a lot of faith.
The Bible talks about that
you
faith
know.
like a mustard seed. That's all he wants.
Exactly. I really should read the Bible more often and have the verses to support to support
like you
my
said,
theories.
Like faith, the same way, reading the Word of God, you grow day by day. Yeah.
Yes, but that's the thing. Like it's something. I think that is what like this journey and the songs help me.
And even in your
discover.
journal, you've said that you want to grow in knowing God more, to understand like the mind of Christ, to know God more.
Yes,
So
everything that is God. You know.
It's happening.
Yeah, and like attesting to the moments that God speaks and tells you to have faith,
Yes.
you know. Even just as recently as 3 weeks ago, I was really praying for something. I was like, I want this, I want this, I really, really want this, you know. And then I'm listening to somebody like preach and, you know, some parts of the Bible and singing again, because me, I love songs.
Yeah.
And it was more like, you know, that thing you're praying for, it has already been given to you. It just hasn't arrived yet. But it has been given to you, and walk like it has been given to you, you know, and it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Wow.
It arrived.
It arrived.
It arrived.
You're living that moment
you
now.
know? And you know, like for me, like there's like a pride in. Yes, there's pride as well, but I can say a fulfillment and a comfort in knowing that if I can answer the question you asked at the beginning, like what happens when he doesn't answer prayers, you know? And I feel like we talked about this last week at some point when we were having a conversation, where I feel like I've gotten to a place where I think God answers your intention, not your words.
Not your words.
Not the
or emotions.
specific words.
Or your tears
Yes.
and emotions.
You know?
It's about intentions.
Yeah, there's something, this noisy pastor who's, I think she's an SDA pastor, is like, don't pray for faith, because if you pray for faith, God will test you. That is how you build your faith. You know? And then I apologize in advance. There are people who that kind of preaching works for them. Mimi usinigombanishe kwa church, please. Let's just talk. Anyway, there's that pastor.
Alafu nikwambie, that lady I think ni family friend wa huyo mtu.
Anyway, but she said that as a threat, and I'm like, well, you're saying the truth, but in a very threatening tone. I forgot where I was going with this. Like, I forgot where I was going with this thought as soon as I started. What was it? But I think coming back is that I think a lot of times God answers your intention.
Yes.
You pray for
intention.
You pray for something and he gives you all the things that you would need to build that thing, you know? So sometimes, like when you say, for instance, when you pray for a job, he might not give you a job interview tomorrow, but he might give you an opportunity to study enough in order to qualify for that job, you know? So I think it is really just about being open-minded and having that trust, you know? There's something I've written there about feeling like a child of God, and the way it took me some time, you know? Like, you know, when you ask your dad for something, I didn't grow with my dad, so this is completely theory for me, but I believe,
I'll tell you.
had I had a dad, if you ask your father for something, he gives it to you, you know? And there's like a trust there, you know? And so I think that there's like just having that faith of, if I asked God for this,
what more can our Heavenly Father,
you know, if he doesn't give it to me directly, what has he given me? Watch out for what he is giving you. He might give you a relationship that will take you that direction. You will meet a friend that will take you that direction. You will meet people. You'll have a conversation that will take you in that direction. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
It does.
Like
it does,
he
it
answers.
Does.
It's just sometimes the world is very noisy. And you forget to see what you're being told.
And listen to the voice,
you know,
the right voice.
Yeah, so I think that's my perspective. I'm not disqualifying anybody else has a different experience, but yeah.
There's
I've talked a lot.
You've actually said about you can pray for a job and God gives you something, maybe something you can study towards that job. He might not answer you directly. I was listening to another lady on TikTok. Her name is Renee. And she was talking about finances. When you're asking God when you are short of finances and you're asking God to provide for finances, you don't ask for money. Ask for the idea. How do you make that money?
Yeah.
What
Or
do
even
you
sometimes-
have in your jar? What do you have in your home that you can use?
Or even sometimes an understanding of money.
Yes.
Because sometimes you have a lot of money, you're just
And
using
that's
it,
another topic
misusing it.
altogether that we have
You
to
know.
tackle. You
So
remember
that's the
our
thing.
conversation last week?
I remember. For me, I did pray for money,
Yeah.
like, or rather like wealth at some point, you know. And I came to understand I just had a terrible relationship with money.
With
you
money.
know, I was just misusing it.
Yes.
You know. So then the thing is, I have been able to build with nothing.
With nothing.
You know?
Zero budget.
Yeah, that's the thing. So sometimes, and for me it was, I asked for this and I got the knowledge. I got someone who taught me, like properly, like this is what investment means. This is what this thing means. This is what this thing means. So it wasn't like, okay, now you've moved to salary of 500,000 a month because you prayed for money. Yeah.
And I also feel like if God answered us directly, well, there are answers. He has several ways that He can give us an answer, either a yes, a no, or wait. Another way He can give you an idea to build into something. If He gave you money, would you be appreciative enough the same way He would give you an idea that you build towards that?
Would you be appreciative? Probably, yes. But the thing about us as human beings, our wants and goals are moving goalposts.
Yeah.
So once I have this, I want that. Yeah. So.
I've learned a lot from your story, Venna. This is a conversation that started a while ago. I actually think 3 years ago, and I will bring that into concept maybe later in another video because we are bringing yet another. This is not the last. And there's a lot that we talked about then, even about her writing and my writing, which I don't want to talk about in this show because today we were learning about Venna. Now, your story brings out so many lessons about faith. Like we read in Hebrews about faith, of course, and the fact that it's not a straight line. There are ups and downs. There are ups and downs. There's a lot of resilience that you have to build as you go towards faith. In learning and in building that faith, you don't just build faith. There's a lot that you're building also.
In the process, yeah.
You're building your relationship with God. You're building your relationship with other people.
With yourself.
Networks. With yourself. Because remember I said, faith not just with God, but also with yourself, with other people. And also learning, relearning, and unlearning. Because there's so much that you had learned as a child.
And then learning is hard.
Faith, I don't trust in God. Like, faith, when
Yeah.
there's a God, because my answers and my prayers are not answered.
And those little voices in our heads, hey, they're loud.
They're so loud.
Yeah.
Two little voices, but very loud. And then, by the time you are reading your journal and doing Thanksgiving, I have felt your story because I relate with it. So many people relate with that story because I am very sure there's someone who is watching us now and saying, I went through this and exactly what, maybe it will not be the same story, but what is that in building this faith, there's a word that spoke to you at a specific time. There's a song that spoke to you. You realize that in building that faith, a lot of people will speak, God will speak. It's up to you to sift and to understand and maybe decide this is the voice that I want to listen to. There's a lot of noise, like you've said, out here. But my hope for today, even as we were doing this show, is that someone somewhere has built her faith through this story.
Yeah, hopefully.
The word of God says that we should not be anxious. We've learned even in her story about prayer. She learned how to pray, building her relationship with God. God says that do not be anxious, but with prayer and supplication, make your request known unto Him. You learn to pray, you learn to spend time with God, you learn to build your faith, and through that, you realize that it's actually a walk in the park. You realize that there is a walk with God. actually, you cannot, it gets to a point that you actually don't pray for anything. Because there is what you know God will answer. Because you're walking with God. Like, mmekuwa ni hapa, tunatembea na yeye. So kuna kitu siwezi muitisha because najua, ananijua na yeye namjua. So I'll ask for what I know he will provide. There's that part where you get to and you just know that you're walking with God.
Yeah.
I am hoping and praying that this story has changed your life. This is not the last time we are doing this show. There is more to come. And I hope you have built your faith in one way or another. Any parting shots?
Parting shots is... caught me off guard. But I can put it like this. A lot of these things don't look like resilience doesn't look like woohoo. Resilience is like just fumbling through it until it happens. Same as faith, you know. So don't judge yourself, you know. As long as there's the intention in your heart, God will do the rest, I think. So set the right intention and do you.
Wow. That was our show today.
Yeah.
On Sifa Movement. Go ahead and subscribe on our YouTube channel. It's Sifa Movement. On Dorcas Sifa. On Facebook, TikTok, Sifa Movement. Leave your comments. Let us know what you think about the show. Give us what do you want us to name this title? Has it spoken to you?
Yes.
Give us your testament or testimony. Share with us, and we will be happy to share your stories even in our next show, and even invite you in our show. Uliponitoa ni